Hey, we're here with another episode of the Rock Fantasy Files, and this one was put together by Steve Levin. He put together a couple this week. He had Lee from Monstrosity on the other night, right? And we did an episode on our favorite releases so far of 2021 last night, and here we are for the third day in a row doing a show, and we're here with the U.S. Legendary heavy metal band. I remember selling their albums when I first opened in 1985. Impaler, shock rock, I guess heavy metal veterans. I don't know if we put you in the shock rock category because I watch your videos and it looks like very theatrical show, and Alice Cooper meets more of a metal touch to it, and I think it was a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys could take time to join us, and why don't we start off? Bill's here, and maybe you can introduce the band and tell us a little bit about Impaler.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. Like we met back in 2013, like we were talking about, and we had a good time at your shop. We hung out all day long, and so I brought along Dr. Corpses here, and he was at the shop. He was at the shop with us. And I think he bought a bunch of stuff from you, like an Ace Frehley model kit and a Bride of Frankenstein, amongst other things.
Oh, wow.
Yep, cool. I sure did.
Yeah. Did you get that Satan's Crate there too? Was that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that I got from eBay.
Different. Yeah. And then young Andrew Radio, our rhythm guitar player from Impaler. And he's been in the band, what, like 5 years now?
Almost 5, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it must be about that. So, and he's a pretty swell kid. He likes all kinds of cool stuff too. He's like, well, he can tell you all about what he likes. Who am I to tell you that?
Yeah.
My business.
I don't like anything.
You're the leader of the band. You tell them what they can like and what they can't.
It's none of my business. Yeah. So, so we just, we released a new CD that we recorded over the COVID summer, or we wrote it over the COVID summer and recorded it over the COVID autumn and released it over COVID Krampusnacht.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. And so that kind of kept us busy. We played like our last show in March of 2020, and it was an unplugged show at the Minnesota History Museum.
Wow.
Because the club here, First Avenue, had a exhibit there at the time, and so we did a unplugged thing there as a part of that. And so that was our last
gig
show in front of an audience, but we did a couple of live in the studio promo pieces for to promote the new CD. So we were together in a room making some noise for the cameras, just for the camera.
And what is the name of the new CD?
The Great Hereafter. Yeah, I got it.
You got one right there? Yeah, so
I don't know,
awesome.
It's probably full of glare.
You can see it a little bit. Maybe hold it up a little closer. You can bring it a little closer. Yeah, you can see it. Bring it up, just up a little there. Yeah. You can make it out. Cool. And is that on did you release that yourselves, or is it on a label, or?
Yeah, it's on our own imprint, but it's distributed through MVD out in Pennsylvania, Oaks, Pennsylvania. They
I'm
distribute all kinds of. Do you deal with them, MVD?
I haven't in a long time, but boy, you're shaking my memory talking about it. Was Music Video Distributors was the name
Correct,
of that.
yeah.
Well, I didn't.
Pennsylvania.
I haven't dealt with them in years, but I remember them.
Yeah, they distribute all kinds of video and CD. Movies.
I think I bought from them back in the day, and I didn't even realize they were still around. So that's great. That's some interesting news for me. And my one stop I deal with is Alliance Entertainment right now.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that we did too is pre-COVID, or just before the whole thing went to hell, we put out a split EP.
Nice.
Our buddies Rip Snorter here in the cities, and actually Andy used to be in Rip Snorter, and then we stole him away. So this is was actually like the single first single off the album. It was like a pre-single of Death Wear a Horse, and it's got a couple other tracks on there, and it's on orange vinyl.
Nice.
And yeah, so we released that too, like before the album came out. So
And those are still available?
yep, yeah. That one MVD doesn't distribute that, but
Okay.
people can get it through the band.
So yeah, so like if someone wants to buy an Impaler CD and they watch the show tonight, and I'll put the links, of course, in the video description. Can they buy music direct, or shirts and whatever direct from the band? Do you have a web store or something?
Well, we just did a licensing agreement with a Season of the Mist.
Oh, Dieter.
Yeah, you know Dieter.
Yeah. I'm working on Dieter for the show actually, and for the store to do some shirts, so they'll be available more worldwide than just through my shop and my website. Yep.
Yeah, so they just released a Rise of the Mutants t-shirt, and then in the works is If We Had Brains t-shirt and an If We Had Brains anniversary
Cool.
shirt, because this is the 35th year since that album came out on Combat. So
Wow.
so they're selling shirts for us, and then MVD's selling CDs and DVDs and stuff, so people can get them straight through those links, which I passed on to you guys. So if you pass it on to your viewers and they're interested, otherwise they can message me on Facebook, on the Impaler Facebook page. Usually people buy a lot of stuff through there.
So for viewers that don't know who Impaler is, there might be a few out there, or some younger kids that are watching. Let's explain what kind of music is Impaler if someone's just watching for the first time. Heavy metal, of course, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're a pretty even mixture of classic rock, 70s rock, metal, and and early punk too.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah, I think we're kind of a mixture of all that. If you put it in a blender, throw in some pro wrestling and some Halloween candy, and I think you probably have Impaler. What do you think, Andy? What would you call us, Andy?
Yeah, I'd go with shock rock. With you got your roots in punk, and you got all the other stuff. Throw it into a blender and being drank by a pro wrestler. That's
You think so, Zach?
Yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the players that are involved too. You take everybody's influences and all your common ground, and and that's how you pull things together and have your own musical thumbprint.
Yeah, you guys definitely do. How many members are in the band, and do you want to name them off for the viewers of the show?
Well, so Andy's our rhythm guitar player, Zach's vocals and mayhem, and I mean it's like a circus on stage. It's like, I don't know, it's like a Chinese fire drill or something. Everybody's running around. It's pretty crazy and high energy, but it's Brad Johnson on guitar. He's been in the band for many years.
Okay.
He took a little break, came back. Court Holly is a founding member, the bass player. Him and I, Mike Torek and me, Bob Johnson, put Impaler together back in 1983. And then Aaron Ryan, he's also been in Impaler in the past. He played on our Wake Up Screaming album he was in the band back in the late 80s, early 90s. So he's our drummer right now. So it's like, you never really get out of Impaler, it's like maybe you go away and live your life a little bit and then you come back. So it's been nice because it's a nice group of guys. We all get along really well and have a good time, and that's what it's all about, really.
And you guys are based in Minneapolis, Minnesota?
Yeah, I grew up in St. Paul, Twin Cities, I guess you'd say. I guess most of us are St. Paul boys, though.
Okay.
Hey, Andy, where did you grow up? Where'd you go to school?
I actually grew up in a little town called Chaska, but
That's right.
everywhere I lived, that was on the Minneapolis side, and I've always been in the Minneapolis suburbs or in Minneapolis itself. So
Mhm. So
And what year was the band formed, Bill? I mean, you guys have been around longer than my store. My store is 35, heading for 36 years now.
well, we're pretty close because we formed in 1983. So I
Okay.
guess so this would be what, our 37th, 38th year, something like that.
38.
I guess so,
You're
yeah.
heading for the big 40th anniversary tour. That's gonna have to be a big one, right?
Yeah, but we'll have to play at like 7 o'clock at night so we can get to bed.
Yes. Wait a minute, you guys don't want to go on at 2 a.m. like back in the 80s?
Oh my God, no.
Nobody's even there anymore.
That's a young man's game.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes we still get dragged out in those things. Well, I kind of wish that I had to wait up till 2 a.m. to see a band right now. Yeah. Right now we can't see any bands. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can't see anything at any time at this point, but yeah, I think it's coming though. I think things are coming.
Is anything opened in your state? Like, are there any shows going on? Some states are opening up.
Well, some bar bands are playing, in some different bars, but most of the legitimate, nightclub venues like First Avenue and all the clubs that they run, they're not open yet.
Okay.
They haven't had any live music. They've had virtual things going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the cover bands are playing at some of the bars, like out in the far suburbs and stuff. And
Okay.
I haven't gone myself, so I don't know. I guess it's limited capacity.
Yeah. I mean, last summer here, we had like some of the breweries and stuff open. They weren't allowed to advertise. They had live music, but they'd have bands playing and stuff like that outside. And we're starting to see that come back now that spring's around the corner. And the fairgrounds here in Middletown actually has some events, one event at least scheduled. I mean, they have other ones booked, but they haven't announced, and they're selling tickets for a fairgrounds concert. But yeah, there's all kinds of restrictions, especially the Blackberry Smoke's coming here, which is like a Southern rock, like Allman Brothers, these kind of style band. But we're going to come to some stuff where it's hard for extreme music to play because you're going to have, we always had the headbanging and the mosh pits, and the guys are not going to allow that for a while, right now.
Yeah. I think probably the first things we'll end up doing will probably be outdoor shows, I'm just guessing, but I think people in general, like a larger amount of people would probably be comfortable with going to an outdoor show as opposed to jamming into a club right away.
Sure.
So maybe, maybe some outdoor things over the summer. And then as we get into fall, then maybe things, will green light as far as opening clubs.
So Steve Levin is in the group tonight, and he set this up, and I've been running driving the bus per se. And I think, what do you got? A couple questions, Steve? Something you want to talk about with the band?
Oh yeah, actually I have a bunch of stuff. Just jumping back to what we were just talking about, though. I don't know if you guys saw a video of Deicide playing the other night down. Of course, Florida's a free state right now.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, there is just no restrictions, no regulations at all. There are people like just pretty much shoulder to shoulder down there. So, hopefully everything is good. And, it's makes you envious to see that. I personally have autoimmune issues, so I don't know how comfortable I would personally feel in that situation. Maybe if I was to do that, I would still at least wear the mask. I've got my shots, so I'm fully inoculated now. So of course that makes me feel more comfortable. I feel like right now it's more of kind of like a fear mongering type of thing going on. I mean, who knows? I don't think they've been honest with us since the beginning, but yeah, seeing Deicide down there was just a trip. And I mean, what I saw, I didn't watch the whole concert, but what I saw, they were just killing it. It was just great to see live music again. And I know that we had done an interview with Nasty Savage a few weeks ago, and Nasty, singer of Nasty Savage, shares a lot in common with you with the whole loves wrestling and everything. And he was actually in wrestling for a while, and they played a show a couple weeks ago also. So, it's really cool to see things are starting to come back. Hopefully this will spread out all across the country, and we'll be join each other's company and feel safe about it, and everything will be good. So, and thank your efforts on the front line, working at the hospital and everything. I'm sure that at some point that was real scary for you.
Well, that's just what I do, you know, and Andy is a paramedic too. So
Okay.
he really down in the freaking trenches.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So he could tell you some stories.
Oh,
But
I think I've got contact immunity now.
well, that's
Yeah.
not, I suppose, right? Immunity, you know. But flipping the script, let's talk about more positive stuff. So yeah, with the band, I go back a long time. It's funny what I always say that I really love about being on the show is not only getting to talk to bands that I love and people that I consider friends, but it's the fact that you'll revisit bands that maybe you haven't listened to for a little while. And when I went back into some stuff, I realized that I first heard you guys back on the Bullets compilation put out by Combat Records back in, I think it was 1985.
Mhm.
And I was just talking about this compilation with Eric from Dark Angel as well, because they had the song Burning of Sodom on that. And I always loved that compilation, but I forgot how deep it actually ran. And you guys did the song Bloodbath on there. And what was really cool about that song is that it was like nothing else that was on that compilation. It was like leaps and bounds different than anything else. And Steve and I were actually talking before the show. And I said it was kind of like Alice Cooper meets Motorhead crossed with the new wave of British heavy metal. But then the funny thing is that your guitarist is actually like shredding, almost like what it actually reminded me of was Sicky from the Mentors, who was another very underrated guitarist. I mean, that guy is incredible. And I was like listening to it. It was Meaty Bob, if I'm not mistaken. And
Meaty Bob was a drummer.
Oh,
Mike Torak was a guitar player on that.
Okay, yeah. I got information wrong there. So
no, that's all right. Yeah.
Wow, he was ripping, and I was just like, wow, you know, that was pretty incredible. So that's how far I go back with the band. And then I was very familiar with the whole Rise of the Mutants EP and everything. And then I went and I listened to some of the other stuff, and I was just like, wow, man, you guys had quite the catalog with all the different full lengths and EPs and everything. And I think you did 4 or 5 demos before you actually even put the album out, which is a lot of work right there, you know. And I was thinking that, you know, if you guys had gotten that stuff out instead of having to wait 2 or 3 years, it would have probably made a big difference, because the way that music was changing so quickly over the time, you know. And it's just I really like it. It's really good stuff. And watching some of the videos, it cracked me up. The one video, let me see, what was the name of geez, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my notes here and I'm missing it.
You gotta read your own. You gotta read your own handwriting now.
Yeah, no, I actually put them on my phone, which is even harder because
Okay.
but I can't remember the video. But you guys are all dressed up, and you actually ripped the heart out of a victim on the stage.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Was that Vicious Dreams, maybe?
Yes.
Was it real early? Yeah.
Yeah, really early.
That audio was one of the demo tapes, you know. That was before we even had, you know, recorded the EP. So that really goes back to the very early days of Taylor.
Wow, that's funny. And then I came across this great video that Zach is going to have to tell me about, where somebody in the crowd gets a little bit too loud. Zach takes matters into his own hands and shows that you shouldn't mess with the guys. I remember Zach was a pretty big guy, and so I'll call him a kid because me and your dad are about the same age.
Oh, shucks.
So, you know, and yeah, I mean, that was pretty good. And, you know, you handled yourself. So that was a real interesting video. It's really cool to see that posted and everything. So
that was I saw that. Is that the video where it said like fist fight?
yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I just saw that.
You know, go ahead. You talk about it, Zach.
well, I don't really like the video because it really doesn't represent us.
Yeah.
I kicked some people's ass. The whole crowd kicked these people's ass. But it doesn't represent us. And the video itself wasn't good either because it clips in.
You don't really see
after the facts. You don't see that they were causing problems and fucking with people in the crowd prior to me kind of getting in their faces and kind of, you know, talking shit back to them. That's kind of where the video clips in. So it kind of looks like I might even have started the fight with them.
Oh yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
But yeah, they were just complete assholes, and they were, you know, shoving women around and people that like weren't even trying to mosh, and you know, they were running their mouths. And so I called them out Axl Rose style.
We ended up throwing them out of the bar because the bar owner was he was like probably 68 years old, and he was just sitting at the door taking the cover, you know. So there were no bouncers or anything, so we just threw them out in the street, and then we just continued the set and kept going.
This sounds almost like a Nasty Savage concert.
You know, we played with Nasty Savage quite a
With
few
Nasty
times.
Ronnie, you know.
Yeah, we had fun.
Yeah, they're an amazing band. I really like them.
What year
Ronnie
did
was
you,
cool.
did you tour with them, Phil? With Nasty
What's that?
Savage? Did you tour with Nasty Savage once?
Well, when we were on the road, when we went down to Florida, we played 2 shows with them in Florida, and then when they were on the road, we did 2 shows with them up here in Minnesota.
Okay.
At First Avenue, and then at North Shore Theater in Duluth, up by
That's,
Lake Superior.
like back in the day or recently?
Yeah, that would, when we were on tour, that was when If We Had Brains came out, so that was 35 years ago.
Oh wow.
And I think it was not even a year or 2 later when they came
Okay.
on tour, and then we played with them up here. So we didn't tour together per se, but we did some shows, some dates together. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. There was a lot of craziness going on stage all night. When we played with them in, I think it was in Tampa, Massacre was the opening band.
Oh
and
wow.
I think some of those guys were from Death and Morbid Angel, if I remember right. But do you remember the band Massacre?
Yeah, we just had Rick Ross was just on the show the other day.
Yeah. So they played with us too in an armory down in Tampa. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah, Massacre, yeah.
Yeah, Massacre was actually most at Death at one time. It was Rick Ross and oh wow, I'm really drawing a blank here. Terry Butler on bass, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I have a bunch of memorabilia from that show, some flyers and stuff, and some.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It was basically the Leprosy lineup, and then after that stuff happened with Chuck and going to Europe and everything, and they went to Europe without him, he let that whole band go, and then they went back and did the Massacre stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're a great band.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, Rick's guitar is he does all the tremolo stuff, which I really dig. It's really cool stuff. So I don't know if I'm supposed to let the cat out of the bag, but you have a really awesome family. You know, me and you were friends on Facebook. We've stayed in touch all this time. Lulu the dog, she's amazing.
Lulu the dog. Where's Lulu the dog? I don't know Lulu the dog.
Lulu. Yeah.
Dr. Corner, aka Zach, is actually your son. So how was it sharing the stage with your son? I mean, it has to be a really good time and really cool. Obviously, you guys have a really good relationship and have a lot of shared interests as well.
Yeah, we always have, because I guess because I've always been a big kid. So we you know, when he was growing up, we liked all the same things and had a lot of the same interests, you know, and watched wrestling together and started listening to music together. And so I took him to his first concert, which was White Zombie, and then his second concert was a Kiss reunion.
Wow. Nice.
So and then he kind of was off on his own, started going to shows and everything. But yeah, it's a lot of fun because when we were out on the road, to have a part of my family with me, you know, makes it better, because I do get homesick when we get on the road, you know. And the older I get, the more homesick I get. So when he's there, that's really helpful. And we just have a good time, you know, and we riff off each other on stage, and we kind of know what each other's going to do or what each other's thinking. And, you know, it really adds to the theatricality of the shows, makes them fun.
Cool.
We have a good time.
There's not a lot of bands, you know, national acts at least, to have father and son. Udo does. Udo's son plays drums in the Udo band now.
Yeah.
There's probably, now that I've mentioned that, there probably will be comments, or there's a million people. Oh, wait a minute. Well, so and so's, you know.
Yeah, there could be ones that we're unaware of, you know, especially now as some of the bands have gotten older and their kids are
True.
of the age where they can, you know, join the band and play, you know, and
Mhm.
become competent musicians over the years. So
Yeah.
let's see, you know what? When we played with Wrath in Chicago one time, one of the guitar players was ill, and the other guitar player's son came and filled in. That was a
Nice.
fill-in situation, but he played great, you know. And they seemed to be having fun. He was quite a bit younger than the rest of the band.
Hmm. I can remember when I opened my store selling that iconic album, and I don't know if that was you on the cover with the piece of meat hanging out of his mouth. Is that you, Bill?
Yeah, that's a young guy,
Much younger Bill, right?
a much younger
Oh,
man.
I was young too then, of course, unless I'm a vampire or something.
Yeah,
What
that's
what was the name
you know,
of
a
that?
lot of people would say that you know, get comparisons to Wasp, but that cover was really paying homage to Night of the Living Dead, the original one.
Yeah, okay.
Especially the scene when the truck explodes out at the gas pump, and then all the zombies come and start chowing on the
Oh,
remains,
yeah.
and like they got entrails and they got beef livers and stuff hanging out of their mouths. And it was like, when I saw that at a midnight movie around the time Impaler was forming, I was like, man, if we could do that on stage, that would be awesome, you know.
Now, when was that album released?
1985 is when it came out. It was recorded and conceived, and the pictures were taken as early as 84. But
Yeah.
you know, it takes a while. Took a while, you know, once Combat got it to get it all put together and get a release date and stuff. So
Was that your first studio album?
yes,
It
yep.
was. That's what I thought. And of course, that's when my store opened in November of '85, and I still remember that being, you know, one of the albums, the iconic album covers on the wall, and whatever else was coming out in that time period with the Metallicas and the Slayers and everything else, and the Wasps and
Well, I
whatnot.
think everything that Combat put out on the same day was Rise of the Mutants, Bonded by Blood, Venom Possessed,
Yeah, that's
and
what I mean.
Abattoir, the first Abattoir, Vicious Attack. I forget
Oh
what
yeah, yeah, for sure. Wow, wow.
with the meat hook on
Jarring
the
our memories, like like Steve said, when we go down and do these shows, you start revisiting some albums you may have not listened to in many years. We just did a show with Tommy Stewart, the Hallows Eve, and I'm like, and Hallows Eve was the first band that ever came in my store in like '86, and you know, popping those albums on and like, holy shit, just put you back to that certain time. Like any music, you know, you hear a song on the radio from when you were a kid, and you put you back, you know, when I was camping with my parents or, you know, whatever else.
Yeah, that's the magic of music, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a question I ask everybody on the show, and I guess I'll go around, and maybe I'll start out with Dr. Corpse. What was an album that changed your life, or got you into metal? Or it can be an album, or it could be a band.
Yeah, wow, that's a good question. So like, you know, growing up with my dad, I had already listened to Alice Cooper and Kiss and all the great 70s bands. So like one of the first bands that I kind of got into myself, and with help with my dad still, but White Zombie was a huge moment for me. And that being my first concert.
Yeah.
And he put on, you know, an awesome show. It was like seeing a Kiss concert. You know, I'd seen all the bootlegs and stuff growing up as a kid, and going to that first White Zombie one, you know, and a full production was so awesome and intriguing, inspiring. So they were huge. And then Slipknot, when they first came out, were a very huge influence and blew me away. Seeing them for the first couple albums, they were just so fun and intense live.
Yes.
I don't feel that way about them anymore, but when they first came out, they brought it. They were fun.
Yeah, I kind of remember going to see Slipknot. I was hanging out with a girl, which I shouldn't have been because I was married. But it's a whole nother story. My wife already knows. But Steve was hanging out with me. We used to go to the strip club every Friday night. And we, because he worked with me at the time, and that was just something we did. We'd go down to the Palisades Mall, we'd have dinner, and we'd go to the strip club, and he wanted to hang out. I'm like, yeah, I'll go. And then all of a sudden, I was watching this girl do this stage show, and I just got in line for a lap dance, which I never did. And I said, well, what can I take her to? What concert? And we went to an Ozfest, and I didn't know any of the bands because I was more into the death metal and the more extreme stuff. And
Yeah.
so I was on the bands, and seeing them like this crazy stage show with all the, with all the characters, with all the different names of the masks. And I understand, the intensity then, and I started liking some of that style, the newer metal. I mean, still like Deftones. I like some. I don't like a lot of genre though. But
yeah, that's all stuff I grew up with. So like that's always going to be in my DNA. But
sure.
I 70s rock and roll is where my heart lies though. That's my jam. But yeah, that's the era that I grew up with, and I like and appreciate a lot of those bands and still listen to a lot of them.
Sure. Cool. I guess we'll move over to Andy and ask him what his band or album that got him into the extreme metal or got him off the top 40 radio or whatever else you want to say.
Yeah, I like back in the 80s, you remember they had those clubs that you could join, and you get like 300 tapes for a nickel or something.
Yeah, the Columbia House one. Yeah.
And my dad was in one of them, and he I think he wanted like 2 albums, and like, I gotta get like 28 more of these things. So I just started picking out stuff I was seeing people write on their notebooks at school. So like Metallica, Testament, Exodus, I'd never heard any of them before.
Oh wow.
And, the first one I listened to was Metallica, Master of Puppets, and I kind of didn't know what to think of it, put it off in the corner, and didn't think about it again for a week or two, and then started listening to it again and really got into it. Around that time, a little later in the year, I had a couple of good friends in high school. They're like, well, come over and listen to some records. And there's too many to even try and think about, but I'll say like the specific songs, I guess, that kind of started me on my path. They were more into punk rock. So like Black Flag, Damaged, like the whole Subhumans EP, LP. Libido Boys was an old Minnesota punk rock band. And then Bad Religion, Suffer. And I guess just kind of that whole thing. I started going that punk rock path for a long time, but I've always gone back and forth between metal and punk. And and then when like Dave said, I was in Rip Snorter for when I met Impaler. We played one of our first shows with them, and we always got along with the guys. And I always thought it was fun because they were this like perfect blend of the 2 kinds of music I love the most. And it was always just fun watching them. Zach back in the day was this kid, and he was terrifying. And and now being in the band for the last 5 years, it's fun and
nice.
It's like, I got to grow up kind of listening to their music and enjoying it, to getting to know them, to now I'm playing with them. It's very fun.
Cool. I guess we're gonna go over and see what got Bill into this crazy world of horror and metal now.
What sent me down the brimstone path?
Yeah.
Well, when I was young, we had these compilation albums. K-Tel would put out all these comps, and they had all the hits of the day and different things. So one of the first albums I bought, like with my own money, it must have been some birthday money or something. I remember I went to Target with my parents, and I bought Believe in Music, and it had a lot of really cool songs on there. It had Long Cool Woman. It had Let It Rain, Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
And, really cool stuff. But then when the needle hit Slade, Mama, We're All Crazy Now, it immediately flipped a switch in me, because I was just like, oh my God, this is like, this is what I want to listen to, you know, this is the kind of music I love. And it was Slade. And so then I ended up getting, you know, the Slade album. And so that happened about the same time that School's Out came out as a single. And I'd hear that on the radio, and that just, that riff of School's Out, when that opened up, it was just like, oh my God. So though, between those two songs, those were the things that really set me onto hard rock, and then, you know, metal as time went on. You know, those bands were probably called metal back then, you know. A lot of bands were called metal back in the early 70s, you know, that are really more rock. You know, they call Aerosmith
or they called it, or
Van Halen.
Maybe they didn't call it metal, and they called it acid rock. Like,
acid rock, man. Yeah, like older people would always go, do you listen to that acid rock? Yeah.
Never understood what.
Yes, I do. Yeah, whenever so those Alice Cooper, you know, and then I just delved into those bands, and of course Alice Cooper was in almost every magazine back then. They were so popular. And so the original Alice Cooper band was really my first love, my first band. I got to meet Michael Bruce because he came, and he was the rhythm guitar player, and he wrote a lot of the songs in the classic Alice Cooper era. And he came here and played in a little sports bar, and we went to go see him. And I said, you know, you guys were like my Beatles for me, you know. And he goes, I can't even conceive of that. And I was like, yeah, it's true. You know, you were the band that, you know, just set me on fire for this stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, same thing. You know, if you go back into my history, no one's asking me, but I'm going to tell them I'm going to tell you.
Tell us.
I found, I was listening to Top 40, and actually, when I was a young kid, I was listening to soul and AM radio. I would a lot of Motown. I watched Soul Train every Saturday morning, and one of my best friends, his sister was dating this guy, and he started picking on me. He's like, you're a real, you know, wimp listening to this stylistics and spinners and all this crap here. Take these 8 tracks home or whatever. I don't know if they were 8 tracks or records. Take these home and play them. And it was Alice Cooper, School's Out, and it was Black Sabbath, Paranoid. And I mean, I still love the classic stuff that I still listen to that sometimes. I'll listen to my old, you know, 60s. I call it backseat of the car music, because that's when my dad would drive me around, you know, and you had the radio on. But yeah, Alice Cooper, School's Out was one of my stepping stones onto it, along with like Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Yeah. That was the second concert I ever saw. The first concert I saw was Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare.
Okay.
And the second concert I saw was BTO with Leslie West and Rory Gallagher and Trooper. It was like 4 bands. Yeah, that was the second concert I ever saw. I love BTO. Yeah.
What was BTO touring on? Do you remember the tour?
4-Wheel Drive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We're starting to show our age in the room now. We are.
Yeah, I'm an old fart.
Yeah, we're talking musical for sure.
I never got to see BTO, but that 8-track did not leave. One of my buddies had a souped up car, and dude, he just had 4-wheel drive. And he would, you know, I had friends back in those days who would have one 8-track in the car. I had another one that had Cheap Trick Live at Budokan. That's all I listened to. It's like, don't you want to ever listen to something else? And my other friend for a while was Deep Purple, Made in Japan, and then he went to, and then he had the BTO 4-wheel drive. Or not, no, it's actually the Not Fragile album. That was a heavy one.
That's a great song. I would love to redo, like, cover Not Fragile. It's such a heavy song, you know. It's great. Yeah, I love that stuff. BTO.
To go off topic a little bit, another band that I loved from that era was Frank Marino Mahogany Rush.
Amazing.
And
Denny's neighbor, right?
Yeah, Denny Barth, who's from Aggression. It helps us out with the channel. I'm not know if you guys are familiar with Denny or not, but he's helped us set up a lot of interviews and does a lot of our panels. He was telling me the other day, like, Denny's got all these crazy stories, and I feel like he's knows more people in the business than anybody I've ever met. And he was like, well, when I was a kid, you know, the house behind me, the house directly behind me was Frank Marino's house. I'm like, yeah, right. You know, right? And then he was telling us in depth last night after we got done on a Zoom interview, how he was talking about these parties that Frank Marino used to have at his house. It was all souped up cars and like 30 people always over, and Frank's jamming on the back of his deck. I'm like, yeah, what a great story that was.
Yeah, what a great thing to experience.
Yeah. But Denny, we'll have to have you back on or something, and we'll do a couple panels. But I think you'd be perfect for some of the topics we talk about on the channel. You know?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
so it looks like you've got some toys, like I have toys. I see the Telco Creature of the Black Lagoon over there behind you, Bill.
Let's see. Yeah, I got
The motionette.
Oh yeah, he's there. I've got the big Dracula motionette. I don't know. The
I can't really move my laptop, or I have them all in the same room here too. I'm looking at the Frankenstein one, and Steve knows my collection. I have the Creature. Years ago, I used to be a vendor at the Chiller Theater Horror Convention in Jersey, which has been going on for years.
Oh yeah.
And they first opened Walmarts in this area. And Walmart had those Telco motionettes for $11.88.
Yeah.
So we went to all the freaking Walmarts, anyone within an hour or two, and my wife and I would just fill the car of these things. And we set up and we vended that one year. And dude, the noises would drive us crazy after like 12 hours at the booth. Like we were flopping them over, I think for like 30, 40 bucks. And that was our stand for a couple of the seasons there at selling those things.
Cool. I guess the Mummy is worth a lot of money now. The Mummy motion at the bigger one.
I don't have the Mummy at all. And
he's rare.
One or the battery operated one. I do have the Screaming Head mummies still. I still have a bunch of those. Like they were like a little box. They were just the head of them that shake. I don't know if you have any of those.
No, I don't.
All right. So they made the Dracula, the Frankenstein, and they just shook and their eyes lit up. Steve probably has them. We used to sell them in the store. But, yeah.
Are they made by the same company?
Yeah, Telco. Yep.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't aware of those. I'll have to look them up.
I'll send you a picture of one on Messenger.
Yeah.
And you're also a pro wrestling fan?
Oh yeah. Old school pro wrestling fan. I grew up watching wrestling with my grandpa. AWA we had here, Vern Gagne.
Oh, yeah.
And this was back before Vince McMahon, took over all the territories. Yeah, it's all the people need to know. There's a documentary that's coming out, I think tomorrow, called The Claw, that his son put it together. So I guess it's got all kinds of family 8mm footage and different stuff. It sounds like it's going to be really cool. I just sent to Zach the news about that before the show today.
Dude, that guy scared the shit out of me when I was a little kid.
Yeah, he had a souvenir shop up at Lake Mille Lacs called the Wigwam, and he used to work in there for the longest time. And he had his 8x10s, and if you were interested, you could buy an 8x10, and he'd sign it for you right there in his souvenir shop. Wow. But it was a knickknack shop, a little snack shop. But he just happened to have his 8x10s that he'd sell too. Yeah. So I think that'll be a pretty interesting documentary. I definitely want to see that.
We actually,
because that's where I started, was with the AWA, the Crusher, Mad Dog Vachon, Vern Gagne, Superstar Billy Graham, Nick Bockwinkel. So I watched it all the time with him.
I have some of the figurines still from AWA and a couple of them in the pack. I know I have the Abdul the Butcher figure that AWA made.
Oh, hang on a sec.
We're going to show toys now. The viewers that were showing up for heavy metal, now we're going to talk about wrestling toys. So This is where this channel goes. And it's just a bunch of guys hanging out and
I
bullshit.
got the governor, Jack.
Governor Jesse.
The gov.
Nice.
Yeah.
The LJN.
Yep.
When
Listen,
toys were,
Jack.
those toys could be used as weapons.
Yeah, that's a pretty hard piece of rubber. Yep.
See, like so many kids threw that through a window or bounced it off mom's back once, you know.
Yeah. So I followed that, you know, and then I followed through, and then I started get WCW, you know,
Me
or
too.
NWA would come on, different things that we could get
Yeah.
on like the UHF channel. We would have to like, you know, monkey with the aerial and get it in to watch it. And it was and then we'd go to the supermarket and look at the wrestling magazines and see
Oh,
all
yeah,
these
remember.
wrestlers that we didn't see, and they were so mysterious, you know, like the Fabulous Freebirds and Roddy Piper and people that were still in the, you know, down in the deep south that we didn't see here in the
back in
Minnesota.
the territory days.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then when I was became old enough to drive, my friends and I would go to the house shows then and actually go see the cards at the Minneapolis Auditorium. And then it became so big right before Vince took over, the AWA got big enough to fill the Civic Center arena, which is, you know, where the concerts were in St. Paul. And then that was his glory days then, was the tail end when we were selling out the Civic Center.
Mm-hmm. So you never wrestled, Bill?
Well, with girls.
Oh, okay. You never know. You know, you look like you could have. You never know. I mean, like.
My friends and I, we all would dress up and like, you know, yeah, we had fun. We made a film one time called The Monster Men, and yeah, I'll have to send it to you guys. You probably get a kick out of it.
Nice.
It's actually like, what is it, like 15 minutes long, Zach? 15, 20 minutes. It's a little story, but about this tag team called the Monster Men. Yeah, I'll make sure you guys get to see it.
Yeah, we got, you know, I was into the wrestling just like you were back in the 70s, and I got out of it a little bit in the 80s, but then I was always into the underground stuff. Like, and then of course I discovered ECW, and that brought me back in whole, and then the big 90s wrestling, and I started selling shirts on the road. I was buying ECW merch from Tommy Dreamer directly, and then selling it, and then like high school gyms at like house shows and flea markets, and first then WWF got big with Stone Cold.
Yeah.
And I stuck to it for many years, and then I got out of it. Once Vince bought everything, I lost interest in it completely. And I'd say about I stuck with Impact for a while because I felt that was kind of like WCW, and I watched that for a long time, and then I fell off and kind of got back into it a couple of years ago. I started getting into the lucha stuff again, AAA, Lucha Underground, and I started watching like MLW. I was going to MLW house shows. I started watching Impact, and now I really pretty much watch AEW every week. I really enjoy AEW wrestling.
I love luchador wrestling too. Even going back and watching the Santo movies, I got a collection of Santo movies and Blue Demon and all that stuff.
Dude,
I mean, it's so entertaining. It's kind of taken over when, you know, like you say, I got disinterested when Vince McMahon owned everything.
Yeah.
You know, especially in the last decade or so. I don't really follow it, but I still buy up when luchador box sets and stuff come out, or there's something on Netflix about Lucha Libre. I watch it because it's so cool and it's so intense and it's so colorful and dynamic, you know. I mean, it's like those guys, you know, are high flyers and workers, you know, that I really enjoy it. So that's where I find my wrestling nowadays, is the Lucha Libre stuff.
There's some stuff that's starting to come back now. I think if you give AEW a shot, try some week. They brought back a lot of hardcore. They're blading again on regular TV, and there's a lot of cool indies that are starting up again. It seems like there's starting to be a little resurgence of the good stuff coming back. I mean, because it was really, when Vince bought everything, it really just turned into PG stuff again.
Yeah. Well, you know, music and like heavy music, hardcore, heavy metal and wrestling seem to kind of go in phases where they become popular in the pop culture and then they kind of drop off, but the hardcore fans never go away. They're always there and they always support it. And then it always comes back, you know. It's just like the creature that will die.
I mean, this is the first time now that Vince actually has competition because he has Tony Khan, and these guys got plenty of money because he's a young guy. Tony Khan, as it owns AEW, they own the Jacksonville Jaguars. They own soccer teams. They, you know, so they got a lot of power behind them. They're taking on Vince again.
Check it out. Have you watched that, Zach?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I feel like it's just as cheesy as what Vince is putting out nowadays. I mean, it's cool that they're juicing and, you know, doing a little bit more of the extreme stuff.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, I gave it a shot. I was stoked to see Chris Jericho there, but I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks or Kenny Omega. I think they're garbage. I know a lot of people like them.
He's the biggest piece of garbage I ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
but
it's something to watch.
It's cool. Yeah, it is, and I felt that way when I first started watching it, but I gave up on Vince too. Like I was even trying to, you know, holding out hopes with that they would kind of turn that around. Like NXT was putting out some good matches.
Yeah, NXT had some good matches. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just I lost interest. I watch all older stuff. I have the network and watched all that.
Oh so. Yeah, the good stuff. Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Steve, what other questions do you have? We're way off topic. We turned this into a pro wrestling program here.
Well, we knew it was going to go this way between toys.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, cool. You know, because I mean, really,
all night.
Yeah, I mean that amounts to like external influences in your music other than actual bands and stuff that you listen to. You know, all the pop culture and stuff that you're into. So you know, obviously toys and everything.
Yeah.
So Zach, when you were growing up, did your dad have like a great toy collection? Were you allowed to like touch anything, or did you know to keep your hands off?
A little column A, a little column B. Yes, yeah, he's always had an awesome toy collection, and then some of it's been handed down to me, and then I've added on to my own, you know, myself getting things. But yeah, you grew up with toys and wrestling and like Disney is huge on our family. We're huge Disney fans, and
oh really?
Yeah, we do Disney trips as family, and some of us went, you know, on our own. My dad and mom go on their trips, and I've went on some solo ones. My sister and I are going this fall together for the 50th anniversary of Disney World. But that's a huge inspiration on me and, you know, my father, for sure. Like with our stage show and how we decorate the stages and come up with stuff, like going to Disney is so inspirational for us.
Oh wow. And yeah, you would think that's too squeaky clean.
No, not at all.
I would think that you were getting more of your inspiration from going to haunted houses and things, more or dungeons.
Well, the haunted mansion is down there, so
haunted mansion.
Greatest haunted
That's
house.
our jam right there.
Yeah.
Do you guys own your own dark ride? Do you have one hooked up behind the house?
One day, maybe after I retire, I'll have time to put that together.
A friend of mine just bought the Dante's Inferno ride that was on Coney Island for like 50 years, and he has it. And I'm inquiring to buy some parts from it. He's trying to sell the whole ride for $30,000. I don't know if you're familiar with a Dante's Inferno.
Oh yeah.
Ride. It has the devil on the front. It had the gorilla upside down gorilla head that the tongue was coming out, and the devil had on the pitchfork, and it was like such a crazy ride. And it's a shame that they didn't keep it somewhere and put it back up, and that's what he's trying to do. But he said by the end of this month, if he doesn't sell it, I've got first dibs on a couple, and then I'm going to have to try to get some money because things aren't really easy with money in the pandemic right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
pandemic is so hard on the amusement industry, any entertainers. It's not just bands, it's
No, yeah.
theater, it's parties, it's amusement parks, it's the traveling fairs, everything, the Renaissance fairs, the leather makers, everything is just so affected by this shit right now.
Even stage
Yeah.
crews and stuff at clubs, that
Oh,
are doing
yeah,
over,
the crews.
lighting people and stage hands.
Yeah.
It just sucks. Yeah.
We can only hope that the light at the end of the tunnel is starting to be, it's going to stay lit,
Yep.
And
We'll get there.
We
Yeah,
were
no-
locked down for 10 days last year, and here we are still. I haven't worked my store by myself on a whole day in like 13 months now, because
Wow.
I've been staying home taking care of my wife. So, yep.
Yeah.
Speaking about toys, do you guys collect any of the Super 7?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a few of those.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because they make such cool figures. I mean, the King Diamond ones, the Maiden
Yep.
ones, the Slayer ones.
Here's the one I got. Speaking of,
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Yes. Awesome.
I had to have it because it's it's a lucha libre in a suit. I love those lucha libre movies where they're just wearing like casual like turtlenecks and stuff,
yeah.
and slacks. Yeah, Devil
I got
Man.
The
Black metal Venom.
Black metal Venom.
Oh,
yeah.
is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a Venom black metal.
Oh, right
I
on.
don't have them in the package. I took them out. Every time I have Tony Dole on it, we do a lot of shows with Demolition Man, and I'll say, "Hey, Tony, here you are." Tony's
Tony's a great guy. We played with
Oh.
Venom Inc. back. I guess it's been 2 years ago now, but he was such a great, friendly guy. I had a good
Isn't
time
he?
talking to him.
It's one of the good things of the pandemic for me is that I'm able to. I started this show and I've been making so many friends in the industry because my store is in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. It's an hour from the world's biggest city, but there's nothing that goes on in my town. We have no clubs. We have the Chance in Poughkeepsie, which is the closest, but no bands want to do an in-store and go there. They used to years ago, but not anymore. Everybody's doing the meet and greets and stuff like that. So nobody does like the in-store. So we didn't really connect, and now we're connecting with so many bands and so many things, and just helping, trying to promote music and trying to promote, what I've always done all my life is trying to promote albums and tell people what the new record is. And yeah, pick that up. It's great. And at least I'm being able to do that through some kind of means. Right
Well,
now.
there's a silver lining to everything that happens. You have to.
Yep.
You have to make the best of every situation. So you do what you can. I feel like we spent the time writing our new album, and that was constructive time well spent.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have
What,
to have a plan B and go with it.
And what was did the pandemic affect the writing of this album at all, or does it make it any darker or moodier? Or
No, I wouldn't say so.
okay.
Well, our bass player Eric Mitchell, he was the second bass player in the band. He was in the band for several years. He died a couple years ago. We wrote this. What we wrote and recorded the song "If Death Were a Horse" when he was actually, actively dying, and so that song has a very personal, probably more personal than any song, any other songs that we have, So, but I know that he would enjoy that we wrote a song about him, So he was a great guy, and we miss him to this day, But other than that, I mean, that was the first song that got kind of kickstarted, eventually getting the whole album going. That was, the first release off that album, and then it just the typical things that inspire me, And I guess in a way, with the pandemic too, I've been able to surround myself like with my toys and read and read comic books and just be more invigorated and inspired. That's where I get my inspiration to write lyrics, So, so in a sense that did, in an indirect way, it did help to expedite at least my lyrics for the album.
True.
The guys that wrote the music, Andy wrote the title track. Like, where'd your inspiration come from for writing the music for it?
The main riff was actually one that I wrote for Rip Snorter a couple of years ago. We just never used it. And then I was just monkeying around with it at practice one night, and Aaron and Brad, I think, told me to slow it down a little bit, and they found kind of their groove with it to make it work. And so after that, I went home and just kind of tried to find more parts to put together with it. And I got a little bit of a hard time from some of the guys. There's too many parts in this song. But,
Said you could write 4 good songs with all these parts. What are you doing?
So now I got to write the other ones. But
yeah,
but no, it was definitely because it was in the middle of all this stuff going on, and as a paramedic, I'm kind of out in a lot of this stuff, and I've had some kind of dark days coming home. I'm just moody and whatever, and that does play a factor into how I write things.
Yeah, what you're feeling like. And what's the writing process like for you guys? Do you guys go with music first and then Bill? And I don't know, Zach, do you help with lyrics also? Do you do the music first, or do you come up with lyrics first and then that inspires the guy to come up with some sort of music?
Typically, when we first started early Impaler, I always wrote the lyrics ahead of time, and then we put music to it. But now it's completely flip-flop the other way. Now we get the music together first, and then I'll write the lyrics and come up with the melody line off the music. And so that's how it works. And technology's kind of worked in our favor in that sense too, with the pandemic and stuff. Like Court could send me MP3s of stuff that he was working on, and I could listen to it and really get some strong ideas before we go down the space. Because sometimes, when you get in a practice space and everybody's making noise and noodling in between songs and everything, it's like you don't always exactly hear what's going on, because our room is not really big. I mean, it's probably the size of a living room. And so to hear something isolated, that I can just pull up on my phone and listen to, that was really helpful. And I think it expedited the process in getting some of the stuff written too, because I could have some really solid ideas before I even went down to the space, and so I like that. I'm not a huge tech guy, but I like that aspect of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's worked out well for a lot of people with the pandemic and everything. And you'll see some bands practicing live via Zoom or whatever they do, and it's pretty cool. And I mean, you see actually bands streaming live concerts too, which is another thing that's kind of cool, that's keeping it going. So Zach, I want to add, do you write some of the lyrics also?
I don't. So father does all the lyric writing, and when we're putting the songs together at practice, I'll sit and listen, and I'll pick out parts that I feel like my vocals lend a hand to, or and like especially with this last one, he even kind of wrote some parts that were like, hey, I want you to do this on this part. I wrote this, with you in mind, with your deeper background vocals. But yeah, myself, I don't.
Yeah, I like the way you guys actually feed off each other and switch back and forth. I think that's really cool. And especially see the whole theatrical thing going on too. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So Andy, you've been able to write a lot of the songs at this point, or you're just getting into the jive of it right now?
I've got probably bits and pieces of 18 or 19 things probably right now.
So that's one song then, right?
Yeah, and I gotta remember that I should be able to email these to you. I always forget about that because I've never done it. But I've always just kind of, I'll show up at practice and play something, and if he tells me to play it again, then okay, we've got a winner. If not, it goes back in the memory bank somewhere and maybe gets used next year. But it's funny because he's got, 30 some years of bits and pieces of songs or whole completed song lyrics, and he'll just tell you, here, play that again, and play it over and over again. He's flipping through his phone looking for one that fits.
Yeah, maybe me and Bill should get together then, because I'm the same way. I have 30, 35 years, maybe more, of bits and pieces of different music. So, between your lyrics and my music, maybe we could make something work there.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing with technology too. I used to be at work, like when I had a flip phone and pocket phones, I'd be at work and I'd just have a piece of scratch paper in my pocket, and I'd get ideas for songs, and then I'd just write them down like on the spot, and just take a break for a minute and write down what I had in my mind. But now with my phone, I go in the notes and I have like just a whole bunch of pages of notes of different song ideas, and sometimes I come up with a line and it inspires the rest of the song, and sometimes I come up with the title of a song first, and then I write the lyric. It's just, once in a while Brad will say, you should write a song called Sonic Freak Show. You had that demo tape called Sonic Freak Show. That was a cool title. You didn't have a song called that. You should write a song called Sonic Freak Show. So then I did, so sometimes I get suggestions from the guys, and then I'll run with it and write a song about it. But yeah, it's fun. It's something I've always liked to do. Like when I was in school as a kid, I was never great in math, or I was okay in science, but I seemed to always excel in like writing classes and things like that, what interested me and what I enjoyed. So I guess it was kind of natural for me to write lyrics. So
I've got a question for you guys before we start wrapping things up. I'd say, what are some of the more memorable concerts that you guys performed, some tours, or maybe festivals, or some moments, maybe for a question for Bill, that you have fond memories of, or just or a crazy story or something from a tour or something like that?
Oh, great. There's tons of stories for, you have that many years. Yeah. I mean, some of our funnest shows are at just little tiny clubs like the 7th Street Entry, or some little clubs out of town that we go and play, or have played over the years. But boy, some of the best, that's always tough. But Headbangers Open Air Festival in Germany, that sticks out in my mind. We played a show in a really big nightclub here called The Myth with Twisted Sister for their Christmas album tour, and that was a blowaway show. Just like we played great, and then Twisted Sister was great, and that was a lot of fun because like I had Rough Cuts when that first came out. Still my favorite Twisted Sister vinyl. And so that was really cool to play with them, and that one sticks out in my mind.
Cool.
And St. Vitus bar in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a great venue, great staff there, and we've played there a couple times.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, that place always sticks out in my mind. Just a lot of fun stuff. I mean, Zach and Andy might be able to fill in some blanks for me.
That's fine. I mean, that's one of our local clubs, the St. Vitus, actually. I mean, it's in Brooklyn, and we're hour 15 minutes with no traffic, but I've seen many great shows at St. Vitus.
Yeah,
they always have great shows there.
And it's a small little place, but it can get packed pretty easy with some of the shows that they turn into that place. And now we're seeing touring cycles even before the pandemic, because we can't really count that in. like big major tours, going to the smallest little clubs again in New York City instead of like Gramercy or Irving. So it's kind of weird. Like Dingbats was getting like Amorphous and getting like tours that would usually be at a place where you could spread out a little bit. Because Dingbats, I don't know if you guys ever played there, is a tiny little bar.
No, we never have. Bobby Leatherlungs was telling me about that, that we should play there. You know what? I did remember one of my favorite shows of all time is we played just a few years ago. We played at First Avenue with Mick Sabbath and Galactic Empire.
I was
And
gonna bring that up.
it was the most, yeah. Was that one of your favorites too, Andy?
Yeah.
It was just such a fun, creative night. It was so colorful. Because Mick Sabbath, I don't know if you ever seen him or not, but I mean,
I know of them, sure.
dude, they totally immerse everything. Like their merch guy is wearing fast food outfit, the paper cap with Mick Sabbath on it, a apron. And when you order your merch, he's got a little paper, old fashioned
taking down your hamburger order.
yeah. So he writes down what you want for your merch and puts the price and everything. It's just like, it's so well thought out. And Mike Odd, he's the guy behind it. He's just such a creative guy. And then Galactic Empire, they dress in all the Star Wars gear and they play instrumental versions of the Star Wars music.
Wow, that must have been a trippy. That must have been almost like an acid rock concert, man.
People were tripping. People were tripping. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
so
the shock rock veterans with Star Wars and fucking McDonald's Sabbath.
Yeah, it was so fun. I can't even tell. I just had so much fun at that show. It's just one of my very favorite shows.
Cool.
That's
fun.
That's what I was going to say about it too. It was surprising to me too, because here it is. It was like a Sunday or Monday night.
It was a Sunday night.
Yeah, and we've got these 3 bands playing on this big stage, and we're all shtick bands who were in makeup or costumes or whatever. And I just remember being backstage thinking, the curtain's going to go up. There's going to be like 8 people up front going, yeah. And the curtain went up and the room was full. And it's just so many people came out on a school night to come see these weirdos in their costumes do their thing. And I just thought that was so cool because
I mean, that Max Sabbath band has a real buzz around them anyhow. I think they were really pulling it. Like 2 of the gimmick acts that I remember from for the last few years with Max Sabbath and Puddles the Clown, Puddles Pity Party.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I'm aware of Puddles.
Before.
I'd love to see him. Yeah, I dig what he does.
He's like a 7-foot tall circus clown. He's a big dude, man. He's in so weird character. I brought one of my employees there, and I hid in the back because he would come out and make you dance with him and stuff. Like, man, I like it. I'm not gonna be that victim tonight.
I'd love to see a video of you dancing with Puddles, man. We got to make
I'd rather see you dance with him personally.
You know I would. I have no qualms about it. You see me dance.
I was there with Katrina and Jay from Goshen, Big J, that drummed for Whiskey Centers for a while.
Oh, he loved them, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he loved them. I mean, yeah, he thought it was better than. Oh, he liked that, and he also liked Bucket. He liked Buckethead a lot too. Another gimmicky thing, the Buckethead guy.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Elvis Simmons? He wears an Elvis outfit and then Gene Simmons makeup, but he's got, the Elvis pompadour, but he's a heavy guy. So he wears like the Elvis Vegas kind of outfits and Gene Simmons makeup. Yeah. Elvis Simmons.
Awesome.
You have to look him up.
And he's a performer. He does music.
Yeah. He's got a band. He's done some shows with Mick Sabbath out west.
Elvis Simmons. So he's a cross between Gene Simmons and Elvis, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
You should check it out. You'll get a chuckle.
So we're starting to wrap into an hour and a half of the episode. So I think maybe we ought to do our kind of closing statements. If any more questions you got, Steve, or anything that the band wants to put out there and talk about, maybe we'll get that.
Just a quick question for the 2 younger guys. just wondering, when you guys were growing up, were Impaler like kind of like a legend of the scene at that time? Or were you like, did you know of them? Like, did you know like, oh, my dad plays in this cool band and like, you know, they have records out? And same thing for you, Andy. Did you like know of Impaler like when you were younger, and now like you're playing with these guys that you knew for all these years and everything, and it's like real cool for you?
Yeah, I first time I heard of them, I was probably 17, 18 years old, a little later on in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that was really into the more black metal and some of the more bizarre stuff, and he actually introduced me to Impaler, and I really liked a lot. You know, you could hear the punk rock undertones, which was what I was mostly into at the time, and I just thought it was different enough and cool enough. I never got a chance to see them as just a fanboy. It wasn't until I was in Roopsnorter and we ended up playing a show with them that I ever saw them for the first time. So it was really cool. But yeah, I knew who they were 7-8 years, I guess, before I ever ran into any of them or saw a show.
That's really cool. So yeah, because Bill definitely is something I didn't touch on, is you definitely had that very, when you listen to the early stuff, you had a very snotty kind of voice, like that aggressive, almost like who am I trying to think of? Like almost like a Sid Vicious type of like very like, you know, like you had that definite, that there's like this attitude towards you in your voice, you know, you could actually hear it coming through, which that was really cool. And what about you, Zach, when you were younger? Was like, were you like, oh, my dad's in this legendary band type of thing?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like when I would go to school for show and tell, I bring the 8x10 with the band, and dad with the liver in his mouth, you know, sitting over a dead woman. And like when we moved into our house in Egan, like the neighborhood thought we were the Munsters. We were pulling you know, pulling tombstones and mausoleums and skeletons out of the U-Haul trailer and putting them in our garage. And so yeah, most definitely, like I was very aware that you know, my dad was a part of something very cool and unique and fun, and I've been a part of it since I was a young age. I think I did my first show when I was either 8 or 9, and I do shows whenever I could, you know, if you know, as long as it didn't interfere with school. And then once I got into my late teens, like I, you know, didn't miss a show at all and been a major part of it. But yeah, I've always been aware and knew that my dad was doing something pretty special and cool, and like to what would be the right word for that? I'm gonna have a brain fart now.
That's all right.
I'm getting old.
When Zach was young, he'd come, you know, to shows like you know, on non-school nights, and he'd dress up in like a Reaper outfit, and he'd come and hand us props and different things. And like, it was funny because he knew what should be going on stage more than some of the band members at the time. You know, he was more clear on what was happening and what should be what should be done than the dudes on stage. So it was funny. So
I think he still does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, yeah, he kind of babysits us sometimes, you know, make sure we get on cue or whatever. But yeah, I can get into a storytelling mode on stage too, and then like he pulls out this bell and starts ringing it, or shoves me, or you know, goes like this, and then I know I got to wrap it up and get to the next song. So yeah,
he's like your band member and manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Right,
tell him
5 minutes to get this song out.
Like twice the pay. Twice of nothing, whatever that is.
So how do fans look in? Do you guys have your own YouTube channel? Do you have Instagram, Facebook, and a website for people to find you?
No, you know, we didn't set up a YouTube channel, but somebody did. Somebody set up an Impaler YouTube channel.
Oh.
But and they have like a lot of the videos and stuff on there, but I didn't set it up.
Mm-hmm.
Just different things pop up that I don't even have anything to do with. Like Wikipedia had us in there, and just different stuff crops up that I'm not aware of, but
Okay.
I'm glad it is. I'm glad someone puts the effort forth on our behalf. But no, we just have the Facebook page, you know, like I told you, I'm not like a tech guy, so it's trying to be on Twitter and Instagram and all that crap. I don't care. I don't have time for it, you know. I'd rather have Lulu sit on my lap and take a nap.
My dog just left the room. I don't know who Lulu is. Is Lulu in the room? Can we meet Lulu, or is he?
Lulu's sleeping upstairs. So.
Lulu's sleeping already. Okay,
yeah.
so Lulu's under the.
She went night-night. Let me see if I can.
What kind of dog is Lulu?
She's about the sweetest dog you'd ever meet. She's a mini golden doodle.
Looks like a teddy bear.
There's Lulu and my daughter. They're like going on a little ride.
I see it. I see it. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. She's a sweet pea.
Nice.
Yeah. I love animals.
Me too.
Better than humans sometimes.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt. We have five. We have a little dog. I'd say
cat too. I see your cat up there.
Yeah, his cat's got its own Instagram channel.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's got way more followers than I do.
Animals do more interesting things than people most of the time. I'd probably rather follow them, you know.
Yes.
They're way kinder and better listeners for sure.
Yeah.
I adopted a pet, and we were without a pet for many years, and my wife has a lot of health issues, and like, how are you gonna get a new dog and train it? So we had two dogs we loved, so we don't have any kids, and they're like our kids. And they, eventually passed on, and I was without a dog for 3 or 4 years, I guess. And finally, my wife gave in. She started looking in the newspaper. Hey, they got this dog, and then she gave me the go ahead, and we went and picked out one. And this dog has been like yours, one of the sweetest dogs I've ever owned, and it just watches over you, and it's almost like she was sent here. And it's like, wow, so glad we got this dog before this pandemic, because it keeps their spirits up, you know.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Yeah.
They're all disgusted with everything. And I'm like, who wants to live in this world? And they're like, she does. Around throwing a toy.
Yeah, I love them.
So, you guys got anything coming up? Anything you want to talk about, or do you any kind of concert, or you just don't have any plans just because of the pandemic right now? No streaming or anything like that going on, right?
Nothing in the works. Like I said, we did those 2 songs live in the studio.
Yeah,
that's the latest thing that we did. I got an offer for a show, but I haven't worked out the details. Because I inquired, do you mean an outdoor show or indoor show? Because they have the capacity to do an outdoor show at this venue, but so that's in the works. So I think something outdoors in the summer months is going to be the first.
You guys should be like the Sven Gulli's house band.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
You guys know
perfect for that.
Rock out in the background while he gets chickens thrown at him.
Yeah. There was another guy I came across, and I can't think of his name. He was another horror host, and I was staying down in Maryland, and I was, Saturday morning, you get up, and I was going to do a convention or something, and I turned the channel on. It was like a Rodan movie, and there was another guy. It was sort of a take on Rob Zombie, and he has his own like horror show too, and he had all these different actors, and they had music, and I wish I could remember that name, but I started thinking about it when I was thinking of like your act and everything.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
he has kind of a metal, kind of a heavy metal persona. Like he wears gauntlets and stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like he looks like Rob Zombie, and part of his name kind of reacts with Rob Zombie, whether it was Zombie.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I can't think of his name either.
Yeah,
but,
it was like a syndicated show.
back in
yep.
the day, you know, when they had Zachary and, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and Pyra and all that stuff, that was so cool. We didn't have a horror host in Minnesota, but we had a horror show, and it was called Horror Incorporated, and it had
Oh.
the greatest intro. I should send it to you guys. I'll send it to you guys when I send that Monster
Nice.
Man thing for you
Yeah,
to watch. But
please.
it was just like this atmospheric opening where it was done in the TV studio. I've come to understand now as I've gotten older because I researched it, but they had dry ice and this coffin, and the coffin lid is slowly opening, and a hand's coming out of it, you know,
Yeah.
and there's this whole spoken thing, you know, welcome to Horror Incorporated.
There's a doggy. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
Oh,
There's Henry.
little puppy.
Henry's here.
He's a
So
little.
we used to stay up late and watch
Hello.
Horror Incorporated. And
Henry, do you have any questions for the band? I guess not.
what's that puppy's name?
This is Henry.
Hi, Henry. Hi, Henry.
Say hi.
Henry.
Hello there.
But yeah, thank you guys for giving your time to the channel tonight. And it was
Oh.
great to see you guys again. And
Yeah,
Thanks
thanks
for
for having
having
us.
us on.
Thank you
we'll
very
keep
much.
you in the loop if we do any shows. I think that you guys, if we do an Alice Cooper show, we're talking about doing an Alice Cooper panel. So maybe I'll reach out to you, Bill, if you'd like to join us.
I'd love to. You know, another highlight of this pandemic was I got to speak to Alice Cooper on the phone
Did
on
you?
his radio show. Yeah, yes, I did. Yeah, and that was just that was surreal. So I got to talk to him because he was saluting frontline healthcare workers.
Oh, great.
So yeah, I got to talk to him, and you know what the first thing he said to me was? He goes, "Hi, Bill. How's Impaler?" And I never said anything to anybody about Impaler. All I ever talked to the producer about was my role as a healthcare worker and what I did and where I worked. And I don't know, somebody did some research or whatever, but he said, "How's Impaler?" And then at the end of the interview, when we're saying bye, he goes, "Impaler." So I was like, holy shit, I think my life's just made. I guess I could probably
That's
die
so
now.
cool. And and what do you do at the hospital? May I ask?
Well, at that time when I spoke to him, I was working in the rehab department, and our hospital became the second hospital in the nation that was COVID specific,
Okay.
just treating COVID patients.
Oh,
And so I was working there, and then so we've closed that. My hospital closed, so now I'm working over at the U of M.
okay.
But yeah, so he was real interested. He was so nice, you know,
Nice.
very cool to talk to. And then he was very interested in what I did, and he had like lots of good questions about, you know,
Okay.
what we did at the hospital and how we were treating COVID and all that stuff. So it was really fun. I talked to him probably like 10-15 minutes.
That's
They
pretty
edited
awesome.
it down a little bit for the show, so it's almost 10 minutes on the show.
Nice.
But that was really cool too. That was really a highlight for my pandemic, you know.
Of
Were you
course.
totally struck?
Huh?
Were you totally fan struck?
Well, I was, but I think I you know, I didn't like go gaga or anything. I like spoke to him and I told him things I wanted to tell him. You know, I told him thank you for all the great times, and you know, you're my hero, and talked to him about this tear gas incident happened here in St. Paul. And so I told him I was at that show, and he said, "Yeah, oh my God, we made up T-shirts said I survived St. Paul." And,
yeah, I remember
you know,
that.
yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
That was a highlight of the year.
Damn.
last
I
year.
mean, he's another ageless guy that just kicks ass. I got to see Alice Cooper a couple times in the last several years. I saw them up at Bethel Woods, which is the original Woodstock site.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're up there. And I mean, he just puts on such professional show still, and it just doesn't let up. It seems like it gets better and better, like his live performances. And
Yeah.
you know, he hires all these young guns, I call them. They're not all young guys anymore, but
Right. Right.
I've had Ryan Roxy on the channel last year. We interviewed Ryan, and Nita Strauss, of course. It's just, he puts on such a professional show. It's just, God bless him, you know, for still for still bringing us great music. Let's put out a new album. Did you hear that? The Detroit Stories.
Yeah, I still have to buy it. It's on my. I gotta buy that. I gotta buy the new Cheap Trick. I
Yeah,
gotta.
the Trick I heard getting good reviews too. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the songs I've heard so far, both of them. So I'm looking forward to buying them.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So please, everybody, check in and sign up with the Facebook page for Impaler. Reach out, buy some merchandise from these guys. All these bands right now need our support, and it's downtime. Whatever you can do.
We'll just say hi too. That we're glad to meet new friends and reacquaint with old friends. We had lots of people that come on there and say, "Oh my God, dude, I had your album when I was, 14 years old, and I found your Facebook page, and it's just like it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to hear that and to talk to people, So yeah, for sure.
So I'd like to thank you all for being on tonight. Please hit subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't yet, mention your favorite Impaler songs, or if you've seen them in concert, or anything else you'd like us to do. And thanks for all, and stay heavy.
Right on.
You guys.
Thanks,
Take
guys.